Counsel, you may call your answer.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, the state calls Tamar Hanley.
Sir, no, you will move on to the fifth. I do. 2 minutes. Thank you.
Please state your name and spell your first and last names for us.
My name is Tamar Lawrence Hanley, Hanli. First name is spelled Tamar.
What do you do for a living?
I am a fingerprint examiner with the Columbia Metropolitan Police Department.
How long total, Ms. Hanley, have you been working with fingerprints?
Wow, it's been about 47 years or so that I've been working.
And have you received any training in fingerprint examination?
Yes, I have. Quite a bit of training. Initially, when I started working in 1963, I received 6 weeks of classroom training and a couple of months of practical training. And then again in 1977, I did a long training course at the FBI Academy.
Okay, and where exactly was that training course with the FBI Academy located?
That was in Quantico, Virginia.
How long was that course?
It was a 3-week course, totaling at least about 120 hours. There was other times where we did homework and other assignments, but classroom training, 120 hours.
How long was the first course that you mentioned, the course that you took with the Chicago Police Department?
That first one, the classroom training was 6 weeks, regular 9 to 5 training, and then we did 2 months of practical training, which was as well regular 9 to 5.
So following that first training course in 1963, did you immediately begin working with fingerprints?
Yes, I did.
And what was your first position after that 1963 training course?
I worked as a civilian fingerprint technician,
For whom did you work in that
and
capacity?
that would have been for the Chicago Police Department.
What did you do, Ms. Hanley, as a civilian fingerprint technician?
Well, as a civilian fingerprint technician, I classified prints. I searched through the catalogs of inked prints. I assisted other fingerprint examiners in their evaluations as well.
What was your next position after you were a civilian fingerprint technician?
Well, I decided to become a police officer.
Okay, and where did you do that?
That was at the Chicago Police Department as well.
How long were you a Chicago Police Department officer?
I was an officer for about 3 years.
After those 3 years as an officer with the Chicago Police Department, what did you do next?
Well, after that, I continued to work for the Chicago Police Department as a certified fingerprint technician, and I continued some of the previous duties that I had and added some others.
Okay. What did you do? What were your duties as a certified fingerprint technician?
I continued to classify and search the inked prints that we used of arrested subjects, and I also just assisted other examiners in their evaluations of fingerprints.
You said that during that period of time, you added some additional duties to your duties as a fingerprint technician. What were those duties?
Well, I worked with more of the examiners in the office. And they increasingly would let me do more things on their cases to actually look at the fingerprints and give my opinions to assist them as well. So it was more training on the job as well.
Did you ever actually conduct training for the Chicago Police Department?
Yes, I did. At one point in the 1980s and through the 1990s, I worked with the Training Academy and actually trained some of the officers in what it is that we do in the fingerprint exam section, and I trained other examiners.
And when did you begin training for the Chicago Police Department, and when did you stop?
That was in 1982, and I believe I continued doing that up to 1998 or so.
What was your final position with the Chicago Police Department?
I worked in the latent print unit, and I was a primary instructor for the new employees. So I was in charge of training in the latent fingerprint section.
Did you also work as a certified latent print examiner for the Chicago Police Department?
Yes, I did.
And that's the work that you're doing today, correct?
Yes, but now I'm with the New Columbia Police Department.
What is a latent print examiner?
A latent print examiner is an employee of the police department or whatever entity, and that person reviews fingerprints that have been given to us to determine if they're sufficient for any kind of matching, for any kind of evaluation, and then goes further and makes those determinations of whether there is a consistency between a known fingerprint and unknown fingerprints.
Now, you've told us today that you're conducting latent print examinations for the state of New Columbia, correct?
That's right.
Where exactly do you conduct your analysis?
That's at the regional laboratory of the district in New Columbia.
Do you, Ms. Hanley, have any certifications in this field?
Yes, I do. I am certified by IAI.
What about consultation? Have you ever provided consultation services in the area of fingerprint examination?
Well, certainly on the job, at my various jobs, I've consulted with officers, with detectives. I have consulted with prosecutors' offices in Chicago and Cook County, and I've also consulted with a federal defender program in the Northern District of Illinois.
Have you ever been qualified by a court to testify as an expert witness?
Yes, I have.
Approximately how many times?
Oh, there have been so many. I would say during the course of my career, I have been qualified over 200 times.
What are some of the courts that qualified you to provide expert testimony?
The Cook County local courts, Kankakee County, as well as some other counties in Illinois.
Now let's begin, Ms. Hanley, to talk about science of fingerprint comparison. First of all, what is a fingerprint?
Well, a fingerprint is the impression that's left by the friction ridges, the patterns that are on the tips of the dermis of the digits that we have that we call fingers. So it's really just the impression that's left. That impression usually is left because different substances come against the skin and then are transferred to other more substances that are fixed.
Can two people have the same fingerprint?
No, they cannot.
You mentioned friction ridge. Does this science of fingerprint comparison go by any other name?
There are people who call it fingerprint examination, fingerprint analysis, latent print examination.
Okay, and what did you mean when you used the term friction ridge? Exactly what's that?
That's the term that we as fingerprint examiners use to distinguish the ridges that are at the tips of our fingers. At the tips of our fingers and throughout all of our skin, there are different patterns of the skin. And those spaces where the patterns actually are higher, we call those friction ridges because they come in contact with anything that we touch or rub up against. And so that shows that friction between the fingertips, the dermis, and the other substances.
You've explained to us what a fingerprint is and what friction ridges are. And you've told us you're a latent print examiner. What is a latent print?
A latent print is any kind of chance or accidental impression that's left by those friction ridges of skin on a surface.
Now, in conducting fingerprint comparisons and latent print examinations, do you use any specific technique?
Well, yes, we use the ACE-V technique.
What do those letters stand for, ACE-V?
All right, ACE, ACE dash V. The A is for analysis. The first part of that is that we determine whether the print that we are given is sufficient to be able to go any further. Is it clear enough for me to be able to distinguish whether it can compare to another print that has been given. Then the C is for comparison. I'm going to be looking systematically at those friction ridges and comparing them to make sure that there are sufficient ridges in that print so that I can then go further and make the comparison. Then there's the evaluation part, the E. I'm going to evaluate the known prints that I have with the unknown prints that I have. And the last letter in that acronym, the V, is for verification. It's a way of testing what the fingerprint analyst has done by doing it again, either someone else doing it again or the same fingerprint examiner retesting to make sure that their analysis is correct.
Approximately how many fingerprint comparisons do you think you've conducted over the course of your career?
There have been thousands. I would guess anywhere from 8,000 to 10,000.
Have you done any work on the case of State versus McFadder?
Yes, I have.
Did you receive any material in connection with this case?
Yes, I received several unknown fingerprint, latent prints, and I received a known fingerprint from the forensics officer, which is technically a crime scene officer, criminalist.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness? Stanley, I'm handing you 3 exhibits marked for identification purposes as State's Exhibits 1, 3, and 4. Let's start with State's Exhibit number 1. Have you ever seen that before?
Yes, I have.
Where have you seen it?
This was one of the fingerprint image cards that was delivered to my office and that I eventually analyzed in the State versus Jackson McFadder case.
Your Honor, I move State's Exhibit number 1 into evidence.
No objection.
And you also have there State's Exhibit number 2. Do you recognize that? And if so, what is it?
I'm sorry, counsel.
I'm sorry,
I don't
number
have
3.
2.
Number 3.
Yes, I do recognize number 3. It is the palm print image card that I received in connection with the Jackson versus Jackson McFadder case.
And Your Honor, I offer State's Exhibit number 3 into evidence.
No objection.
You also have there State's Exhibit number 4. What is that?
Number 4 is also a fingerprint image card that's labeled number D that I received in connection with the Jackson McFadder case that I analyzed.
We offer it into evidence, Your Honor.
No objection.
Now, I'm going to hand you another exhibit marked for identification purposes, State's Exhibit number 5. Do you recognize that?
Yes, I do.
What is that?
Number 5 is a copy of the known fingerprint image card that is designated Jackson McFadder. This is one in which I received in connection with the Jackson McFadder case and which I analyzed as well.
Your Honor, we offer State's Exhibit 5.
No objection.
Let's stick with that exhibit that you have in front of you, State's 5. Now, you told us what it is, but generally speaking, what is a known fingerprint card?
A known fingerprint image card is those fingerprints of suspects or arrestees or just individuals who are known to the police department, and we keep a catalog of their fingerprints as part of our duties, as part of our regular operating procedures at the police department. And then sometimes we're asked to compare those to unknown latent fingerprints that we receive.
Okay, do you see the letters MCMPD on that card?
Yes, I do.
What does that stand for?
NCMPD stands for New Columbia Metropolitan Police Department.
And then is there some sort of identification number that follows?
Yes, there's an identification number that would be unique to Mr. McFadder. It's AZ as in zebra 6858.
Is that known fingerprint card dated?
Yes, it is.
What's the date?
It's dated August 12th, 1999.
Now, you told us that you received the samples, State's Exhibits 1, 3, and 4. What did you do with those after you received them?
Well, after I received them, I noted what they were. I then used the ACE-V method, and I compared the latent fingerprints to the known fingerprint and made findings.
Okay, let's take them one by one. Take a look at State's Exhibit number 1.
Right.
What is the latent print on that exhibit?
All right.
According to the exhibit, where did it come from?
This latent fingerprint is labeled, is given the number 10-000976-A, and it's labeled as a fingerprint that's taken from item number 56, the lighter fluid can top.
Now, you said that you used the ACE-V method to compare the fingerprint image cards to the known fingerprints of Mr. McFadder. Did you do that with this exhibit, State's number 1?
Yes, I did.
And what did you do when you conducted that comparison using the ACE-V method?
Well, the first thing I did was I looked at this latent fingerprint, government's exhibit number 1, and I analyzed it to make sure that it was of sufficient quality that it could be compared to another fingerprint. I did determine that it was of sufficient quality, and therefore I then compared this fingerprint to the known fingerprint that I was given.
And what did you conclude when you conducted that comparison?
I concluded that that government's number 1 and the known fingerprint image card had enough points of comparison that they appeared to be from the same subject.
That subject is who?
Being the known the holder of the known fingerprint, Jackson McFadder.
Did you do the same thing with State's Exhibit number 3?
Yes, I did.
What is the fingerprint image card that's in evidence of State's Exhibit number 3?
Actually, number 3 bears the number 10-00976C, and it actually is a palm print that is designated an upper palm print lifted from item number 56, the lighter fluid can side.
Did you conduct the same comparison using the ACE-V method with State's Exhibit number 3 that you described a moment ago for State's Exhibit number 1?
Yes, I did.
And what was the result of that comparison?
It appeared as well to come from the known, the holder of the known fingerprints, Jackson McFadder.
What is State's Exhibit number 4?
State's Exhibit number 4 also bears the number 10-000-976D. It says that it's item 61, a fingerprint that's lifted from the front doorway of a house.
Did you, relying on the ACE-V method, compare that fingerprint in State's Exhibit number 4 to the known fingerprint of the defendant, Mr. McFadder?
Yes, I did.
What was the result of that comparison?
This appeared to match the left thumbprint of the known fingerprint image card of Jackson McFadder.
Now, you've described these comparisons and the matches that you found for State's Exhibit 1, 3, and 4. Could those fingerprints, Ms. Hanley, based on your experience and expertise, have come from any other person?
No, they could not.
No more questions.